Good day, good day. Welcome, welcome. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'm Jay, and this is Homeschool Yo Kids Podcast. Today we have with us Priscilla. Priscilla, introduce yourself.
Hi, well, thank you so much for having me, first of all. And I'm just so excited to be here. So yes, I'm the creator and content creator for Mommy's Classroom Curriculum. It is a 10-month preschool homeschool plan that I created to help parents that have absolutely no background in education and still just have an easy to follow plan, and at the same time be able to use items that they already have in their home to create these really fun learning activities for the kids.
Nice. So what made you create this?
Okay, so Mommy's Classroom Curriculum was born during COVID. That
Okay.
is when it was born. So I had a toddler and everything started changing. And then at the same time, I had a newborn. And I said, okay, my toddler's putting everything in his mouth and he's touching the newborn. I'm like, this isn't good. So I was like, okay. And he was in nursery school at the time. So I was like, we're not gonna do this. So I just pulled him out and I decided, you know what, there's a lot of scary things happening around. The world is changing, but I just didn't want to let that come into our home. I wanted my kids to have a fun and safe learning environment, and that is exactly right there. Oh, here's what I'm tired again. Yeah.
Hey, beautiful.
What's up? But they're up this morning.
No
But
worries.
I want I wanted them to have like the best, learning experience from an early time. And one of the things that I think all parents want is for their kids to have a strong early childhood educational foundation. And everything was kind of up in the air at that point. Schools were closing, schools were opening, and there was just a lot going on. So I decided that I wanted to create that in our home. And that's exactly what I did. So I just remember just starting all these creative learning activities for my kids. And I was doing this from the beginning since they were born. I was just absolutely fascinated with their development. Like all moms, like, oh my gosh, what did you learn
Yes.
today? But it was at that moment that I decided to really create a formal type of like routines that like, okay, we're gonna do this in a flexible way, but we did it. And I started kind of having like my own online portfolio, like, oh, this is cute and this is cute. And so then more and more moms kind of started contacting me like, hey, are you, teaching? Do you have like a plan for it? And that's kind of when I was like, okay, other moms are interested, other parents are interested in it.
Mhm.
And at the same time, as I was creating it, I didn't want to be running out, every 5 minutes to grab things from the store. I was like, one, it gets expensive. And two, I was like, there was a lot going on. I didn't want to be out there. So I was like, okay. So I started looking in the pantry for items that I could use for like sensory bins. I started looking at, I would look at, manipulatives, like what can we use? I was like, do I really need to go and, order like, 5 boxes? I was like, I don't. I could just use like their little toys or their crayons to create manipulatives when we were doing math activities and things like that. And little by little, it all started coming together. And that's when I started like, okay, we're gonna create Mommy's Classroom. And the funny part of that was that I didn't really, name it Mommy's Classroom. It was like my son was like, "Are we doing Mommy's Classroom today?" I was like, "Yes, we are.
Oh,
We are doing Mommy's Classroom."
he
And
was
that's when it
tapped
all came
in.
together.
Yes.
Yeah, and I was like, this is great. And, we fell in love with it and it was just so much fun. Like instead of like dropping my baby off, which I cried like all I was like, oh, my baby's up. But I was like, oh, good morning. What are we doing today? And there was no crazy like morning rush. Like, did I forget something? Do I have to set up an appointment to talk to the teacher regarding the development? It was like I was there step by step, all those first that kids have, you used to get that feeling, that first step that you're like, your first step. I was there for so many of those moments where he was just like
Nice.
absorbing all the knowledge. And then when Olivia got a little bit, interested in it, she kind of like jumped in as well. So it was just kind of like a beautiful blossoming process that just kind of happened. I didn't really plan for it, but it
Mhm.
just did. And I was just so happy that it did. And at the same time, with Mommy's Classroom, I was just able to reach other parents that wanted to try it, but didn't really have an idea of where to start with their little ones.
Nice. Yes. Parents need a little guidance. And like you said, those moments, like, milestones are very exciting. I still get excited with my 10 and 7-year-old just seeing like some of the, the progress that they're making
Yeah.
with me. And it's really exciting. So I could just imagine. So this is 4 years later. So now the toddler is what, 6, and your newborn is
He just
2. Oh, he's
Oh
4?
my goodness. No, my big boy, he's 7. Way too close
Oh,
to 10 for my
7.
comfort.
Okay.
Mhm. He's too close to 10. I was like, oh, double digits. But my little one, she is now 4. When she was, so she
Okay.
like has been in it, kind of thrown in there, but it was just such a great experience for her. And then like for me, my background is in education. I'm a former teacher. I taught middle school, preschool. I taught in every different setting that you can think of. But I have to say that just doing the homeschool process is just a whole different ballgame, because I would tell parents like, okay, just a tip, your students, if you're a teacher, they go home. But
Mm-hmm.
my kids, they kind of just hang around. So it's like you just have to be really flexible. And I kind of had to learn that myself. I was so used to like, okay, we're gonna do this, and I would set up the
Mm-hmm.
activities and kind of like, and then I'd be like, wait, you don't want to do activity? You don't want to? I was like, no, we planned for this. And so I had to kind of learn how to be flexible and just like kind of go with the flow and be able to just change things up and know that it's not a sprint. You're not gonna make it. You're just like, don't do it. It was like, no, you have to have a flexible
Mm-hmm.
routine because things happen. I was like, sometimes they love the activity, and sometimes they're like, no. Especially when she's like, no, thank you, not today. And I'm like, no. So it's been a learning process for everyone, but it's been really fun.
Nice. Oh my gosh. Yes, that's yeah, that sounds about right. I think that's every homeschool parent. Like, oh, I put all my work into this activity. Like, oh, you're gonna love this. And then you sit down with them and they're like, we have to do this.
Mhm.
We have to do this.
Yeah.
So preschool, are you, because yours are getting older, are you incorporating more ages now? Or are you still just your focus is preschool?
So Olivia's still like in pre-K because we started at such an early age, like in Toddlerville. That's where we really started, and it just kind of grew with her. And with Isaiah, once he entered, kindergarten, I started changing things up for him, like having him, scaffold of what we were learning. And one of the things that I really saw was that we were able to just individualize each lesson to tailor it to where his interests were, what we was learning about. And then eventually we started seeing that he was like really progressing with his reading. And so I'm like, oh, okay, this is great. And I would always encourage parents, because they would ask me questions like, well, how do you get an early reader? How do you do that? And how do you, and I was like, okay, first let's keep things fun, because the moment that you start like, what's the letter A? How do you, no, that is not A. That is not A. We did not study for that. It's like you have to really make it fun and just get them, kind of like hook them into thinking that they're like, we're actually making them realize that it's all play. It's all play. The whole time it's play. So just incorporating things that they love. Like my son was very much into PJ Masks for a while. It was all about PJ Masks. So what I would do is I would just, little booklets like early readers, and just leave them around like, what do we do? Oh, did you find that? Oh, did you find
Oh,
that? Like, do you want to read it? And you like start reading out loud. Um, the games we would do like letter hops, like hop around, eventually progress to like word hops and things like that. Or I would write different words on like the wall, and we would draw like ball bouncing, because my kids were such high energy kids that all that work to get their bodies moving. And that's one of the differences that I noticed, that when they're in school at a young age, even though there is like a lot of phenomenal teachers that incorporate a lot of movement and things like that, there's also there are different rules where you're gonna have to sit down for more than like a few minutes at a time. I was like, my kids were not going to thrive in that at that early age. And so keeping it fun and keeping them moving just helps them to develop skills that I might not have thought of incorporating until later on. But since I saw that there was like an interest built in like things like reading, and then just different subject matter, like I created, well, I didn't create, I incorporated one of the books. It was like an art history book, and I was like, well, this is cute. Isn't this going to be pretty when we're flipping through it? The next thing I know, I was like, Mama, look, it's the Mona Lisa. I was like, oh, we know Mona Lisa. All right, then let's flip through it.
Nice.
Look and see what pretty pictures we're seeing in here. So just things like that, like building their interest and kind of like following their interest while at the same time um, funneling in like different subjects that come along. It's such a great way to get them to learn.
Nice. So what kind of preschool activities are you creating? Because a lot of people focus on play at that age. Like they're like, oh, just let them play, just let them play. So you have
Mhm.
actual activities and lessons. What do they look like?
So everything from an early age, basically through dance, learn, songs, and just hands-on activities. So, um, for example, we'll do like if we're doing like numbers, like we're gonna count today. I might just pick up a bunch of like his little like toy PJ masks and be like, all right, we're gonna count how many PJ masks we have, and we'll put them together as manipulatives. Or if we're doing like sensory bins, I'll look in the pantry and I'll get some dry pasta, and then we'll mix it all together with maybe some like washable paint and mix them all together and have like, and I'll hide like different like magnets, like magnet letters, and be like, okay, let's go digging for the different letters and let's find them. And then I might have like a mat where I would draw the different letters, and then like we'll find like the magnets and then match them to the mat. Like, oh, that's great. What letter is that? Oh, and they'll be so excited because they're doing hands-on activities. And once they get tired of that, we might just be like, okay, do you guys want to go outside? And they're like, yeah, let's go outside. I'm like, why don't you grab the bouncy ball and we're just gonna, sing our ABCs while bouncing the ball, A, B. And they're like bouncing the ball back and forth. And all those, hands-on, and the knowledge is coming and they're moving, they're energized by it. And at the end of the day, we've had like a fun, lesson plan, and in their mind, we're just having a good time. I'm like, but because we're
Nice.
singing, we're dancing, and we're playing. So, but at the same time, we're establishing that strong foundation that they're going to need later on when they really start, you know, reading and just analyzing different things. And that's where it is, to keep it fun, keep it flexible, and to just keep it moving. Like one of the things I also tell parents that it is an early age and you don't want to sit your kid down and be
Mhm.
frustrated that they're not doing a specific activity. So my son didn't really like writing with pencils. He didn't like it. I was like, what about the grip? He's never going to learn that pencil grip. And so I did things like I'd get markers, like the dry erase markers, and I would be like, do you want to just draw a picture? And he'd be doing that. Or I'd give him like paintbrushes and things like that. And eventually, he learned the pencil grip and all that. But I did notice I caught myself like, no, we're not, we need to try this because we need to try. And I was like, what am I doing this? What is this? Like, no. I'm like, he's frustrated, I'm frustrated, we're mad at each other. And I'm like, we're done, we're so done. But once you kind of understand that you can just come back to the activity or revisit and just change the activity altogether, that's when you kind of realize like that's what learning should feel like. I'm like, okay, this isn't working. Let's try something new. Let's try something different. And
Okay.
that's kind of what it looks like for us.
Yes,
Hmm.
going back to the flexibility.
Hmm.
Nice. What so did you always want to homeschool?
No. No, I
What
did not.
what was that
um,
decision led? Was it the shutdown that happened or how did you get there?
So I think for me, I have always had a passion for education. I loved being a teacher, and and it was fun for me because every day was different. It might be the same lesson that I was teaching, but I knew the next, the children coming, the next
Mm,
students coming in was going to change it. And I loved it. I loved seeing that spark. But when I had my first baby, I wasn't ready. I was like, this is kind of cutesy. I was like, and I was able to kind of stay home for a bit. But that teacher in me just did not want to let it go.
yes.
I was just so fascinated with like little developments. I was like, did you say mama? And that feeling was just like so heartwarming. But when I decided to really like, okay, I'm gonna do this at home was during, COVID, when I saw just everything changing, and I was just determined not to let any of the negativity that was going around or any of the scary factors going around to just impact his early childhood development, because there was a lot of commentary being made, and whether or not people should wear masks, should not wear masks, and little ones, I would kind of hear the comment. I was like, you know what, we don't need to be doing this right now. We're going to be just in our little bubble at home. And I really just wanted to keep him going, because I did realize the impact that it was having on other children, the closings and like the instability of it all. And I was like, I might as well take my background and just incorporate it into like combine the two things I love most, motherhood and education. And I just like squished them all together, and homeschool was born. And we did it for a while. And once the world, kind of got a little bit healthier, Isaiah started joining different activities. He loved jujitsu, he loved soccer, and so he started, interacting with his other buddies. And then at that point, he comes home one day. He goes like, "I want to try going to the school," and I'm like, "But what about mommy's classroom? What about mommy's classroom?" And he's just like, "Well, why I can do both. Why we can do both? I can go and play with my friends in school." I was like, and so I was never like, I'm just gonna homeschool you all together. When he decided like I want to try to go back, I was like, okay, break mommy's heart, but you can go back. You can go. So he started attending one of the local schools, but at the same time, one of the things that I did realize was that I was getting a lot of pushback from was, is your child going to be prepared to socialize with other kids? Because, at an early age, they're developing how to interact and how to do all that. And yeah, he didn't even say bye to me. He just walked in and left me. But so I knew he was fine. So that's one of the things that I would tell parents. If you are homeschooling at an early age, definitely enroll them in different activities where they can interact with other kids and kind of develop their self-esteem. Because I did question myself. I mean, like, I've never done it before. I've never been a mom before. He was my firstborn. No idea what was going to happen. But I did learn that had such a profound impact, especially, I would say jujitsu, his classes. When he went in there, he was like tiptoeing around like, what is happening? And I was like, oh no, no, we have to be more confident. But once he walked in school, didn't say bye to me, just did his whole thing, like he was able to just transition seamlessly into it. And at the same time, he was ready. Like he had his educational foundation out, his reading, his math, and everything. So he walked in, he was like, I got this. No worries. I was outside crying, but he was fine. My other one, my little one, she's just like my preschool, and we're focusing on her, like on her daily preschool homeschool. But with Isaiah, I still do like that added homeschool factor that he loves. And we did it for so long that now he complains, and he's like, excuse me, did you paint these pine cones with Olivia today? And I was like, we did. We were doing Easter pine cones. He's like, how come you're doing all fun stuff without me? I was like, you left me for school.
Like, how mommy's classroom works. What are we supposed to wait until you get out? Like, what are we supposed to do all day? Yeah.
Like, do added activities. Like, he'll ask for the activities, and it's just been such a big part of what we've done that he still comes home and asks for it, and he doesn't see it like, oh, mommy's gonna tutor me now, and mommy's gonna make me do more school. It's still like he still sees learning as being fun, and that was, I think, every educator wants kids to be excited when they come into their learning zone. And I just was able to do it with my kids, and that's something that I would love for other moms to experience, just being able to see like that light bulb going off and seeing that sunshine that comes out of them when they learn something new. Yes. Okay, I'll be there in a minute. There's my sunshine.
Yes, no, that is so sweet, because he still comes home and wants to continue his learning, and you're supplementing, and that's what's important. It's the supplementing. Because we talk to parents on that sense of, even if your children's in public school, you should still be homeschooling them. You should still be providing them with some kind of educational like foundation that they love. Like, that's the main thing. Like, you want them to love learning. Like you said, as an educator, teacher, you want your children, any child, to love gaining more knowledge, gaining more stuff, like, skills, all that good stuff. So you are, excuse me, you're on the money. Like, you got it, honey.
Thank you. Yes. Thank you so much.
She's
hang on,
fine.
hold on. She's so funny. She's like, I don't know. I'm gonna start a debate team. You know what? I'm gonna incorporate this. Oh, this is gonna be a debate team. What are we arguing today? Who took whose toy today?
Negotiating.
But
Yes.
yeah, negotiating. But it's just been such a phenomenal journey, and I do feel that way, especially if you know like my oldest child decided that he wanted to try spell. I was like, that's fine. There's some phenomenal educators out there that even in and around there, like, what are you guys doing today? But the things that he loves, maybe something that they're not studying in school that day. Recently he was very much into dinosaurs, and they just weren't covering that. So I was like, you know what, let's do a dino dig in the backyard. I was like, little sandbox, like with, the little plastic pools, fill that up. And I stuffed it with like different, little rocks. And I was like, let's do a scavenger, let's do a dig, let's do all kinds of stuff. And all of that is just building on his interest. I was like, because I remember being in school and they weren't covering some of the stuff that I was interested in. So I was like, no, it's kind of boring. I want to pay attention right now. But the fact that I'm able to give him that supplemental instruction, that it's able to just feed into his interest, like that to me is a blessing. Like, it's like,
It
okay, because not
is.
everyone is able to do that.
Indeed, indeed. Let's talk about some of your time in the classroom. You say you taught preschool, middle school. How was that? Like what like what did you observe that she
Okay.
was like, okay, this is cool and all, but like how was your time in the classroom?
Oh my goodness. So for years, I taught inner city middle school, and I loved it. It was like the best time because it was in the same neighborhood like I grew up in. So
Oh,
I went back
nice.
there I went from being a student to being a teacher, and it was just to be able to help students that were in, that I was once in their position, trying to figure it out, trying to get the resource that we needed when there wasn't really much, that we had. And so going back there as a teacher was just such a great feeling to go back there and just do what I do. I fell in love with education at that point, just being able to see kids like for me, for a long time, I was able to at risk youth. I was like, oh, I didn't know that. I was like, what does this mean? And a lot of people I felt kind of discounted, like, okay, well, you know what, these are your options because ooh, you're not quite going to make it over there. And so I
Um,
had people tell me that I wasn't going to be able to make it at a university level, that I needed to
mm,
reconsider my options. So when I went back there, I was like, no, we're not doing this. And I was like, we are scholars. Where do you want to go? Where do you want to be? And they would be like, oh, it's like, so what's stopping you? I'm like, let's do this. And to see that spark in them, that fire, and they just excelled. I remember we did a tolerance fair, and one of my leaders, we did a tolerance fair, and we learned about all the different types of like genocide that had happened, in the past,
mm.
and that were, what was happening around the world, the different factors. And I remember that we put on this incredible fair that like we had the news came in and did interviews, the local news, and to see that pride in them, like my students were some of the students that other teachers were like, wait, you're using this particular student for a leadership position, but no. I'm like, I had that student last year, and I was like, we're not doing this. And to see these
Right.
students who
Yes.
had kind of
Teachers be
just been
doing
like
that.
discounted, I was
Yes.
like leadership roles and just taking it by storm. Like these students, like their names were like highlighted, and seeing that just like self-confidence rise. Oh, that just was like one of the things that I absolutely adored about working, in that secondary school. Um, and then eventually I like moved, we moved states. We moved from different states. And I'm like, you
Mm,
know what? I said the moment that I didn't want to like, give it my all, go into the morning and just be in that classroom. And it wasn't because of the students. I think it was a lot of politics that was going around in this particular school that I was like, you know what, you're stealing my love of teaching, and I just do not want to be here. So I decided, I was like, let's try something new. And they would tell myself, like, don't be afraid to try something new. And so I transitioned from secondary teacher to preschool teacher. And I
that's
was like,
wild.
well, this is different.
That's
Different.
wild.
And I was like, I was so used to my secondary very independent, like, Miss Morales, da, 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 da. I was like, yeah, sure. And I was like, and they would look at me and be like, hi. And I was like, well, hello. Can I give you a hug? I was like, oh, are we permitted to hug? Like, okay. Sometimes I was like, "Oh, over there, man. Even like giving hugs, and then they'll be like, "I get you a present," and it's like a Play-Doh wad with stuff like that, but they're giving it to you with all their heart. I was like, "This beautiful." So it's a different setting, but at the same time, it's that connection that you make with the students that it's just great. So I went from one setting to the other, and then from that setting to homeschool. So it was almost like preparing me, like, how is this going? But going backwards, like, how is this going to work? And I feel like all my experience as an educator, um, it just, I just brought it with me. And I don't know, I'm like, sometimes I consider going back into the classroom just because there's days where I miss it. I miss the interactions. I miss the students. But for right now, I just feel like my heart is just so full in like what I'm doing with my own kids that I'm happy.
Nice. Yes. No, it's never the
Mhm.
kids. I like how you said that. Yeah, it's not the kids. That's like everyone, whenever you tell someone you're a teacher, that's the first thing they think about is the kids. And it's like, no, the kids are fine. It's everything outside of the classroom that's the
Mm-mm.
issue. Yes. Those faculty meetings are the issue.
Yes,
Those
yes,
department meetings, all that good
yes,
stuff. Yes. But yeah, you went backwards
yes.
and I couldn't imagine. You are having sent your energy is amazing. So I could see how you would do well in preschool. Like I can imagine them just loving you. But I
Oh,
could
thank
never.
you.
But I could never. Oh, that is amazing.
No, thank you.
Yes. So do you do
Well, thank you.
consultation with your experience? Do you do, because I heard you say like you have parents asking you different things. Do you do consultations also?
You know what? I'm actually going to be starting them up this summer because I've had
Nice.
enough inquiries as to it. I never really thought about it. I was like, oh, okay. But then like enough parents have asked about it, whether or not I do them and how does it work. So I am definitely going to be starting those in the summer. I'm just getting, set up with that. For right now, it's just like I do like mommy's classroom, like the plan. I actually wrote a book for moms. It's called Momfidence
Oh,
because a
nice.
lot, and I talk about
Confidence, like
homeschooling.
confidence, confidence.
Confidence,
I
yes,
love
confidence.
it. I love that title. I want
I
it.
was like, confidence. I incorporate, I started talking about homeschooling then because I remember when I was, showing it like, oh, this is so cute. And I would post things and people would be like, oh, okay. And then I would, interact and these are supposed to be my buddies. You're like, what's up? But I could feel like, that testing. I was like, do you do this with other kids? Like, go ahead, what color is it? And then they'd hold up like something and my son's like, what's happening, mom? I'm like, what color is it? And I'm like, no, 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 no. I was like, yeah, we're homeschooling, we're doing this whole thing. And then like Isaiah, like he like would forget Isaiah's my big boy. And he would like answer them and I would be like, high five, kid. I'd be like, that's right. Momfidence, I homeschool. And then I would just,
Oh,
but
you got to
it's just
put
like
that on the shirt, honey. I love that.
confident. And it's so
Yeah.
many things that, like, as a mom, I feel like that we kind of need that, like, especially as new moms, as we get so much input as to the do's and the don'ts, and we think it's just going to come from the doctor once, we have our little bellies, but oh, there's a whole other list that people just want to offer, and you're just like, and sometimes out of politeness, even with our kids, like we feel that we're just kind of, just nod our heads and be like, okay. But at
Thank
the same
you.
time, once we become moms, we become, the advocates for our kids. Like, no, no, we're not doing this. No, I'm not comfortable with this play day. Just different things like that, that I discuss in the book. And I bring up homeschooling up just because, I did experience a lot of pushback, but I feel that if I would have, readily agree, like, oh no, like maybe I shouldn't be doing that. And I would have just sent him right on in, then, I know that I wouldn't have had such an incredible blessing to be able to just work with my kids and just build up all
Mhm.
these memories that I know we're all going to carry on. Like, even if they don't remember all the different activities, I know in my heart that they're going to remember that feeling that mama
Mhm.
tried. It's like mama was there
Yes.
and mama tried.
Yes. You were hands-on, you were involved. And you didn't wait. That's the most, I feel like that's a big thing. You didn't wait. You didn't say, oh, they need to be 5 before we start working on this, or, oh, I'll just wait till they get to school. And so, like, you didn't push it off. You saw like, oh, I got these kids. how can I build?
Yeah.
What do I need to put into you? How can I help you grow? And that's what it is
Yeah.
all about. I feel like a lot of times parents are waiting so long before they introduce their kids to certain things. And it's like, these are little geniuses walking around. We don't even realize how much they have in them until we start pulling it out of them. And it just takes us playing with them, talking to them, just just anything, providing hands-on activities, just tapping into something that's going to be like, oh, know that, oh, know that. um like you, with my firstborn, I spent time at home with her before I went back into the classroom. But I I love seeing what she learned. I love being able to say, oh yeah, no, she got that from this, or she learned that from this. I was able to, for the first year and a half of her life, I could tell you everything of how it got into her, where it came from, who said it, like just anything. And I love that though. I love it. And that's why I love being back to that. Like even now I still ask, and she's 10 and I'll be like, where did you get that from? Like, where did you hear that?
Yes.
So because I always
Yes.
want to know, okay, how did that get to you? Like, how did I find
Yes.
this way to you? So I don't know, like being tapped into your children's learning, their educational foundation is very important. And I feel like you put that into Isaiah, like you have fostered a love for learning in him. So much so that he comes home from school and still like, hey, what y'all doing in here?
You're
What y'all
like,
do without
oh.
me?
And my mom's like, do you want to come back? And everyone's like, do you want to come back? Because we can do that. We can totally do that, baby. He's just like, basketball today. I was like, no.
Uh, maybe by the time he gets to middle school, I know, right? Like probably eventually
Mom's
find
here.
his way back.
Mom's here.
Yes.
I think so, but it's such a great, experience. And it's like one of the things that I do love is like when he brings home like his projects, like we do a lot of like book reports and things like that. And it's so funny because I'm like, we're like going together and it just takes us back to that. And he's bringing me his opinions and his thoughts. He's like, oh, we should do it like this. And I was like, what about this? Like, no, mom, let's go like this. And so just to see those, his creativity just blossoming. And I was like, you are just taking over this classroom. All right, gold star for you. And then like I have my little one that she's coming in and she's at the same time she calls it mommy's classroom, like my little learning space, like mommy's
Mm-hmm.
classroom. I was like, mommy's classroom, let's go. But
Nice.
it's one of those things that I'm incredibly thankful for, just the opportunity, because I know a lot of mamas want to do it and they're just not able to do it at this point. But I also have been speaking with like different moms that, they work, some of them work part-time, some of them like have flexible hours. And one of the things that I have learned, because as I started, working in, it's just how to be able to just change everything, like just make sure that it's not a schedule, that it has to be more of a routine. More of a
Yeah.
routine. Like if I have to do like morning work, then we'll do it in the evening work and just things like that. And I'm blessed enough where my job allows me like different times, and like, Olivia will come with me along, when we got to do things. So
Nice.
it's just the opportunity. I feel that just soaking up these moments that are just flying by. They're flying by. And I look back and I'll like scroll through my page and I was like, oh my gosh, I remember when we did this. But it's just like so many moments that just build up into just one big, I guess, like feeling like memories that you wouldn't change for anything. And the fact that I'm able to build on their education while at the same time creating these great memories for us is it's more than I could ask for.
Nice. Does Olivia mention school?
Oh yeah. No, she mentions like brother. She loves going to brother school because they have like a little like play set. So she thinks that that's fun.
Okay.
But I was like, okay. But right now she's very much into her like activities and things like that. Like she'll be doing gymnastics. And we're in that zone where she's flourishing, especially when she's coming to like social interactions. And again, it's like the whole social aspect. Like, will my child be able to transition later if she wants to? Yeah, I don't even worry about that anymore. She's fine.
Nice.
She's like, I'm like,
Yes.
she's gonna leave me in the park and she'll drive away by herself.
Nice. Talk about more of the pushback, because I know a lot of parents experience that as far as like, the outside community, maybe immediate family, just saying, why are you doing this? Why isn't he in school
Yes.
yet? Why? Like, why? Because you're probably the first generation or first person in your family that's introducing homeschooling or talking about homeschooling or even doing it. So how was that? Like who was your biggest adversaries? Like who was in your ear the most?
I think, you know what, the truth is, like, I think it might have been, sometimes it's the people that we love the most because they're coming from a place of love and concern. And that's like, since we do take their opinions into account and we respect their opinions, those are the ones that you're like, oh, should I? Like, oh my gosh. And and a lot of times, even though they're coming from a well-meaning, point, it makes us doubt ourselves.
Yeah.
And I remember with my boy, my firstborn, I had no idea what I was doing. I was a new mom, but I knew that I wanted to really starting on his development. So I would create these little activities, and I would be like showing him different things that maybe he wouldn't have been exposed to until like way later. Like for example, the art history stuff, and then like he would kind of like look at it, and he'd like know the different pictures and things like that. And so I remember having a comment like, oh, you're not really letting him be a kid right now. And I'm like, you're judging this based on like maybe a 30-second snapshot on my Instagram. I'm like, that's what you're basing it on. Or they would make comments like, well, what about his social interactions? That was like a big point. Like, well, he's not gonna develop like this. He's gonna be, they were like that he's gonna be that weird kid in the corner. And I'm like, excuse me, there's nothing wrong with weird kids. I'm like, there's nothing wrong with that. But the fact that they would like worry about the like Priscilla, what's going to happen with him? He's not going to know how to interact. He's not going to know how to play. And so all those things, I think as moms, we worry about just in general. Like, is my baby going to be okay? In school, is he going to be okay when I'm not around? Is he going to be self-confident? And so all those things were weighing on me. And I think that once I started him off on activities, I was like, okay, what are we going, what do I need to, and I would ask, I was like, what is the goal here? Like I would ask myself, what is the ultimate goal? The goal is for him to be happy, healthy, and just be self-confident, right? Like he is a baby, we have plenty of time to think about this. So I started enrolling him in like jujitsu is one of the things that I like enrolled in him. And he was my shy bug. Like he was very shy going in there. He would tiptoe around, like literally tiptoeing around to the point where his brother was like, what are you doing? But I saw that these activities brought him out of his shell. And the more that I saw him progress, like on our own, where I was like, why am I doubting myself? I'm like, and I would look in the mirror and be like, I am a good mom. I am a good mom. I am the best mom. I know what I'm doing. Yeah, Momfidence, little by little. But I would have to kind of reassure myself at that point because I didn't have any data that were like a future portal. I was like, oh, he's okay. But it's like I knew that I was building it up, and I started building like a little portfolio. Like, okay, he was here, and then he was here. I was like, and this was the teacher in me. Like, okay, I'm gonna track this progress, and then eventually all that kind of just melted away. The more that I started seeing like their development, and I'm like, it would come through one ear and out the other. I'd be like, you know what? I respect your opinion. I value your opinion, but it's my turn now. I'm like, this is my turn to be a mom, and I'm going to have to pull rank. This is what's best for my family. I understand that it might not have been what was best, maybe in my particular case, when I was growing up, or like where you were growing up, but this is what's best for my kid. And you know what? If he doesn't like it or she doesn't like it, then we always have the option to enroll in school. And if she doesn't do the well or he doesn't do well, then we always have the option to go back. There is no, because they would ask me a lot, like, are you planning to homeschool him for life? And I was like, for life? I'm like, I don't think so. I don't think so. But, I kind of had to present it like that. Like, we're taking this year by year. And if we need to, we'll take it month by month, week by week, and we'll see where we're at. But I cannot say that, 5 years down the line, I'm going to be homeschooling him. Like I could have said that. He would have been like, no, I'm sorry, blah, blah, blah. But, it's one of those things that you just have to do what's best for your family at that point. Some moms have to return to work, or it doesn't allow them, or for other reasons they can't homeschool anymore, and they switch over, or they go back, and then they come back out and they're like, you know what, that just wasn't for us. That wasn't what we were expecting. So we're just going to go back. And one of the things as moms that we have to realize is that we don't really have to tell anybody what we're doing, because that's our baby. And I was like, and we know them best. So I was like, I have a background in education and everything, but I feel like my expertise is being a mom, because I'm there. I know them. I know every smile, every face. I'm like, I know when you're lying. Just things like that. Like we know our kids. We know how they learn. And I think that that's something that every mom needs to just absorb and understand. Like, even though they might say, like, well, you don't have a background in education, how are you going to do this? There's resources out there that you can pull from. I built my curriculum because that's what I was used to. That's what I love. That's my background. But if you're a mom that, doesn't really have that background, that doesn't mean you can't do it. There's plenty of resources out there that you can either build or you can have a pre-planned one, but it's all about what's best for you and your family. Like that's just the bottom line.
Nice. Thank you so much for that,
Mhm.
Priscilla, because I know you probably talked to a bunch of parents that, like, even with your educational background, know that I still receive pushback. I still had people telling me, oh, you may not be making the best decision. Are you able to do this? Like, there was still doubt with your educational background. So even without educational background, parents need to understand, like, yeah, people are going to say, people are going to talk, but it's up to you, and your children the best. That's what it's all about, and that you have your children's interests best, like, in their best interest in heart. That's what the focus is. So yeah, I love that. And
Yeah.
that's that confidence, girl. Yeah, I love that.
Confidence,
You
like
need to you
confidence.
need to trademark that. Yes, because I love that. You trademark
Confidence.
that. Yeah.
I
Yes.
will see that.
Yes. Are you a part of any co-ops or anything?
Mhm.
Any kind of homeschool groups?
I never really joined like a co-op. I kind of built my own. I was like,
Nice.
okay, which moms do I like? I was like, do you want to hang out today? And then like I would kind of do it like that. But at the same time, it's there's always moms to learn from. There's like moms that have, been homeschooling for a while that I'll be like, hey, what are you doing? And like they live in another state. I'll be like, I'll call her, I'll be like, we're doing this. She's like, oh, that sounds great. Why don't you try this? And just kind of like building like friendships. And I feel like a lot of times that's a big thing too, like building mom
Yeah.
friends in general, but especially if you're a homeschooling mom, then you got to remember that you need to like get out there yourself and kind of like start building your community, because a lot of the times they're just like, oh, you need your mom tribe. I was like, where are they? Like, where's this mom tribe? And
No,
so you just kind of have to go.
they focus on the kids socialization. They don't realize the parents are the ones not socializing.
Hey. But for me, it's like I would just kind of start going on like, mom blind brunches. Like I would be like,
uh,
I'd meet moms like at the library. I'd be like, hey, you seem fun. Do you want to go? And like we started like having our kids come together, and at the same time they're doing an activity, we're having our coffee and we're talking. So things like that kind of just help build like the mom friendships and to strengthen it. At the same time, you get ideas from other moms that maybe you never even thought of. And you're just like, oh, okay. So definitely get out there and build that mom squad.
yes, definitely. What do you do for self-care? Because like you mentioned earlier, like, when kids are in school, that time away is going to be that time away. But when your kids are not in school, like you have Olivia at home with you all day. So how do you find that balance of like making sure that you remember Priscilla and not just mom, but also Priscilla?
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Priscilla, like she's in it. Well, I came up for air around when when you have that season where you're just like, what day is it? But I started coming up with a routine because I was like, this is gonna happen like in the middle of the day, especially when you have a toddler running around and it's just like, it's the potty training stage and the sippy cup stage and all that. So I started getting up really early. Like I started starting my day like at 5 o'clock, just popping up, 4:30 if need be, just having that time for myself, whether it be, in our garage, so, doing a little bit of workout or just reading something. I love reading. I love just going out there and doing my thing. And that helps me feel a little bit more like me. And then now that they're a little bit older, that they kind of like, they have like a bigger attention span, I'll take them with me. Like I started taking some jujitsu classes. And I was like, well, this is out of my
Nice.
comfort zone and fun. So like they'll come with me and they'll kind of like be on the mats or just something to just make it about, it's my time. And as a mom, it's like you have to sneak that time in, because once they're home, it's just like, somebody needs something. Somebody always needs something. And it's always
Exactly.
important to like being able to say, I need a minute. Like I thought that from the beginning, I thought I was like, oh, I don't know if I admit that I need a minute. Am I failing at this? Am I not super mom? And then I decided, nope, I'm great. So then I started really like telling my husband, like, hey, I need 20 minutes. Like 20 minutes, I'm gonna
Nice.
lock myself in that room, and so he's like, oh, and I could have done that at any point, but I feel that as the years have gone, I kind of like been able to kind of voice more like what I need. Like I need help in this. Even like other family members, when you have like that early stage, they're just like, do you need anything? Or like you're holding the baby and you're like carrying stuff. You're like, nope, I'm fine. I'm
All
fine.
right.
And for me, it's just like I needed to admit, like, you need help. You need help. Just like even if it's something simple, like I'll like a point like opening a door. Like I've been at the point where I'm holding the kid, pushing the stroller, and I'm having that giant backpack, and I'm like struggling to open a door. Or I could say like, "Excuse me, can you open this door for me?" And just
Yes.
like the little things that eventually add up to like the big things. I was like, "Well, that was easy. Let's try asking for help over here." And there's nothing wrong with that. But I do feel that as moms, we kind of have like that mentality that if we admit that we need a minute, we're somehow failing, and that's just so untrue.
Mm,
I'm like, we're
uh,
human. We need our mom time.
Indeed. I feel like that helps.
Hmm
That helps for you to keep smiling. That helps for you to like, not to snap off or want to
hmm
like all of that good
And
stuff. So
we've
yes,
all done it. We've all had our moments where we're like, ooh, was that me? I'm like,
I
did I
know.
yell like that? Ooh, okay.
You know what? I'm gonna walk away now, okay? Because I need a
hmm
moment. Yes, let's not wait to the breaking point. Let's catch it midway. Like, you know what?
hmm
This is building right now. I feel something building in me. So I'm gonna go up to my room for a minute and sit down. Okay. And I will rejoin y'all when I feel like I'm okay.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, no, parents have to, especially first time parents, because like I always talk about, there's no manual to this. Like for being a first time
hmm
parent is just trial and error. It really is. It's trial and error.
hmm
And you have a lot of outside voices telling you to try this or, oh, my baby was this and you should do this and all this stuff. And it's just like, no, love, find your walk, find how you want to do this and structure it to help and work for the whole family, not someone else's family. I always talk about
Yes.
comparing and contrasting because we're in a time of you can see everybody else's life or a snapshot of their life. And so everyone's like, oh, well, this mom is doing this, or this baby knows this many words, and my child isn't this. I see that in Facebook groups all the time. Like, should I be concerned because my friend's baby, he did
hmm
this at this age, or da da da, and it's just like you got to go back to that. Girl, that's your baby. Okay.
Yes.
This is not not your friend's
Yes.
baby, your
Yes.
baby. So don't do the compare and contrasting
hmm
because I think that's a stiller of your
Mm-mm.
joy that will definitely run you down.
Yeah. I tell moms like you gotta run your race. Like it does not matter. Like just run your race. You're good. You are
Yes.
good. And
Yes.
and I love that. I love that. Just like focus on your own baby. It doesn't matter what everybody else is doing. Maybe they have different flexibilities. And I tell that to different moms too, because we compare each other's like chapter 1 to somebody's chapter 10. I was like, if you have a
Mm.
newborn or a toddler, your house is probably not going to be covered, in white fluffy couches and like the pillows and everything is like perfectly, with glass everywhere. Your house is going to be covered in Cheerios. It's just like it's one of those things that you can't compare.
Yes.
You can't compare it, and it's one of those things. Like I've gone to visit, like moms are just like, it's like the most beautiful picturesque home, and I'm like, this is nice, there's no fingerprints on the windows. But then it's one of those things. It's just my season. This is my season. This is what I'm doing. I had the season where my hair was always like up in a bun here because I was afraid that they were going to tug on my hair, and they kept putting my hair in their mouth, and I was like, oh, I don't want applesauce on my hair right now. But it had the season. I finally let it down a bit, but at the same time, it's a different season of my life. Some of my girlfriends, they're able to just take off and be like, you know what, I'm gonna go do my nails today. And I'm like, well, that's great, but it's 6 p.m. and I can't because I have to take care of the kids. It's just different things like that, different seasons. And if we start comparing, looking into other people's windows, we're gonna miss the season. And as messy and crazy and nutty as it can get, it's a good season. It's just our time. It's our time. We'll get to that other chapter eventually, but this is just our time.
Nice. Do you see
Mhm.
yourself building out mommy's classroom with more curriculum? Like I said, as far as like pushing past preschool, like first grade, kindergarten, things of that nature? Or how do you see
Yeah.
mommy's classroom?
I'm definitely considering, adding another part to it, just because now that my kids are getting older, we're creating more things. We're changing it up a bit, and I realize that, you know what, it's part of who I am. So just kind of just I'm a creator. I love creating things. I'm pretty, you know, artsy when it comes to that. So I might just build something to just keep it going, because I don't foresee me ever stopping the
Nice.
activities or things like that, because it's kind of like, part of our family culture at this point, like what we do. So I
Nice.
might just consider adding to it. But
Yeah.
besides Mommy's Classroom, I've done things like I've written like two children's book, Beautiful Just the Way I Am, with which I try to help kids just value, see not just the beauty in themselves, but to see the beauty in
Yes.
others. um just right for me, it's right for non-traditional families, where I teach kids about the different types of families that there are, and it's just, I've been able to do some reads at like the local schools, which is kind of nice when you see like their little faces just light up. And again, these are like for preschool readers, so I've just kind of been like adding that under the umbrella of Mommy's Classroom. And just
Nice.
I I just try to just keep it going, all things motherhood, all things learning, and it's just kind of just blossomed that way. I didn't plan for it, but it's just kind of blossomed.
Nice. Where can we find mommy's classroom?
It's available on Amazon.
Okay.
Yeah,
Mommy's
you could.
classroom,
Yeah. Mhm.
Momfidence, d- uh, what were the two children's
You.
books?
Oh,
Beautiful.
beautiful,
Mhm.
just the way I am, and just right for me.
All on Amazon.
They're all on Amazon. They're all on
Okay.
Amazon.
Nice,
Yeah.
nice. Any other things you want to share? Because I didn't even know about the two books, but yes, any other things that you like parents to tap into?
um, if you guys love my Instagram account, Mommy's Classroom Curriculum, I also have a YouTube channel that you could subscribe to
Nice.
and just keep up that way. If you are a new teacher and you are a secondary teacher and you're kind of struggling to kind of like transition from student teacher to new teacher, I also have How to Survive Your First 5 Years of Teaching out there. It's also on
Okay.
Amazon. But it's just, I've always enjoyed helping others that are walking kind of like my journey, and I want to share with them just little bits that can make their life easier, so they can just avoid all the bumps that I had to bump through. So like teachers, motherhood, homeschoolers, just things like that. I just kind of just poured my heart into all these little like projects, like I have a daily planner, Mommy's daily planner, and just things that I've
Right.
learned along the way to just kind of make life just a little bit easier, whether you're a teacher or your mom, just kind of make it easier. And just, I just enjoy helping others and just building community. So that's kind of just me.
Nice. I could tell like you're
Mhm.
very passionate about it. Your passion shines through. Your energy is amazing. And I love that
Thank
you're
you.
about to start providing consultations, just a little bit of guidance. Parents need that. So before I let you go, what's three things that you would tell? Let's go with new moms. Three things you would tell new moms about entering into this journey of parenthood that maybe you wish was told to you.
Oh my goodness. Momfidence. I would say listen to your inner voice. Listen to your inner voice and tune out the rest of the noise. Like listen to yourself. That's like the number one. You know what is best from the very beginning. You know, your body, your babies. The second thing I think that I would say is surround yourself. Hold on. Surround yourself with a positive community. It's okay to avoid negative conversation. It's okay to say, you know what? I don't need to know the horror story that happened to your friend's cousin. I don't need to know that. It's okay
Mhm.
to just walk away from those conversations. And the third one, it would be like, don't compare, your chapter one to somebody else chapter 10. Like I said before, it's just like enjoy your season. This season is going to pass. I know it doesn't feel that way in that moment, but just enjoy the season, every season that you're in, because as crazy as every season is, because every season has its crazy moments, it is just important to enjoy it, embrace it, and just dive into it, because it's your time. It's your time to be a mom. And these are
Yes.
my babies.
Hey, beautiful.
These are my
Hey,
babies.
hey, hey. Like they said, well, we are here. You're gonna see us.
Yeah, I'm like, I can't avoid it. I'm like, they
Yeah.
even brought our boxer
I know.
puppy.
I say yes, even the dog's
Well,
there.
even the dog is here.
Yes.
And it
No
just takes
worries.
me.
We're wrapping up. But I thank you, Priscilla. I thank you for all that you're doing. I thank you for just knowing that parents need this, knowing that moms need this confidence boost, knowing that they need a little structure, need a little guidance, and saying, hey, you know what? Let me share with you what I'm doing. And you can see if this will work for you. So thank you,
Well,
thank you,
thank
thank you
you.
for everything that you're doing. It really
Oh
means
my
a lot.
goodness.
Yes.
Well, thank you for
Resources.
having me.
Of
Like
course.
I'm like, just, being able to be here with you and just speaking with you it's an incredible feeling. I love chatting with you.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. I love tapping into resources that I know is that I know parents will definitely benefit from. And mommy's classroom, I see it all the time. Parents are just looking like, oh, okay, I know I want to do this. I know I'm gonna jump into this. I don't know where to start. And so you're giving people places to start. You're giving confidence boosters because confidence is everything. So that Momfidence, yeah, parents need it. They need to tap into it. They need to gain it. They need to walk in that. So thank you,
Yes.
thank you, thank you. And
Oh
families
my goodness.
continue to reach out, continue to research, continue to understand that this is not a journey you have to do alone. Priscilla's going to be consulting pretty soon, so you'll be able to reach her.
Yes.
But in the meantime, tap into her YouTube channel, tap into mommy's classroom curriculum.
Mhm.
That's your Instagram, but tap into everything. We're going to have all the links available in the description, of course, but just make sure you know that if you have the questions, there's the answers are there. So have fun with it. Have fun, have
Yes.
fun, have fun, but homeschool your kids.
Yes.